Mm. And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. It's so good to be with you. And I am now just checking and making sure that everything is said, that the audio is coming through. So it's so good to connect with you. And thank you so much for joining us in this fourth in this live stream series, Rise Up and Lead, a Catholic Call to Action. My name is Christopher Pereira. For those of you who don't know me, thank you so much. Thank you. And yes, absolutely. I am confirming that the audio is in effect working. It's so good to be with you, and it's so good to continue this effort that started Monday. Of course, it's an effort that we had been preparing for several days. Actually, we had been preparing for it. And oh, let me see. Okay, I think we put that audio feedback under control. This live stream is a one-man show, in case you're wondering. Yes, it is. And this is the way we do it at Tepeyac Leadership. We definitely have a team behind the operations. It's a small team and a small army of volunteers. That's how we have moved forward our mission since its founding, really, since the beginning. At the very beginning, when we were housed at the Diocese of Phoenix, Tepeyac Leadership Initiative was born as a diocesan program for the Diocese of Phoenix. It was basically my assistant and I, Elvira Mejia, who I don't think is a regular user of Facebook. She's more, I'm sorry, LinkedIn. She's more on Instagram. But Elvira and I were the ones that were running the program. And then she had to move on. She got married. She's a mom now. She was definitely one of the people who put the first stones to build this apostolate from the ground up. And I've told you the story over over the past few days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We've been doing this. We've been coming to you live on LinkedIn to let you know about our vision for this apostolate that started 8 years ago at the Diocese of Phoenix, founded by Bishop Olmsted, with the vision of equipping the next generation of lay Catholic leaders for civil society, the next generation of lay Catholic leaders for the world. And so we started with that vision, thinking that it might take us longer than it actually did to take the program to the rest of the United States and to the rest of the world, because initially TLI was an in-person experience. And then when the pandemic happened, it's a funny thing. Like every other organization, we faced the prospect of either shutting down or taking our activities to the virtual platform. And so we did. We hesitated a little bit, but then over the turn of a week, we were in the midst of the program. We had begun taking the program to the Archdiocese of Los Angeles, and that spring I was traveling once a week to Los Angeles to facilitate the program there, driving from Phoenix once a week and staying overnight, coming back the next day, while we were also having the program run here in Phoenix. But the pandemic caused for us to go online, and really over the course of just a few I think a few months, we realized that suddenly we were really a national reality. We were able to get to people from all over the country, and really more than that, all over the world. And by the next year, we were already recruiting people from outside the United States, Mexico, Canada. It's incredible what took place and how now we have Tepeyac leaders in every continent. Well, I always say in every continent, but in reality, that's not accurate. I am living out the continent of Oceania or Australia. We have not had a participant yet from Australia. I hope that 2026 will be the year where we get some participation from Australia. We're going to be excited about that. We're going to be excited about actually just last week, I did a presentation for a group of young Catholic professionals in Australia. So hopefully we have planted the seeds, and next year we might have some participation from that, the last continent, the last frontier for TLI, to have some participation in our Global Leadership Development Program, TLI. So today we have a couple of things in the works and prepared for you. We have a special guest. I'm going to let him in just a few seconds. And with him, we're going to be discussing a little bit about artificial intelligence. I don't know if you, of course, you're aware of AI. We're all aware of AI at this point. We have different degrees, varying degrees of use or experience with it. I have been definitely using it. And I know some of you might have even more extensive expertise with it and have used it in different capacities. I've really only used it for its capacities creating text or enhancing text. That's how I've been using it. But in reality, as we know, it can do much, much more than that. And the way in which it is accelerating, the way that, and I have my guest standing by. I'm gonna let him know to stand by. Uh, the way in which the technology is accelerating and is rapidly becoming capable of doing just these incredible things like writing code, that creating a website, all kinds of things. The way in which this is done today is just incredible. It's beyond my comprehension at some levels. But anyway, it's definitely not beyond the grasp of our Pope Leo XIV, because he has, since the very beginning of his young pontificate, he has been addressing, touching on, bringing up the topic of AI. So today we're going to bring a young gentleman, a young Catholic professional, graduate of TLI. He's a Tepeyac leader who's going to tell us a little bit about AI and his own experience with it. So we're gonna ponder a lot about what we make of this new technology, and of course approaching it from the lens of a Catholic leader in civil society. Those are the only lens that we look at anything in our world, within the TLI family. Today, I also want to tell you a little more about the TLI program, the Tepeyac Leadership Initiative Program. I've told you the story. This week, I've told you about the story of the program, how it got started. And I've told you a little bit roughly what the program is about. But today, I'm going to go a little more in depth. I'm going to tell you, we might even touch on the curriculum. We don't really share the curriculum much, let me tell you. The curriculum is this thing that we guard, that we're very protective with, simply because we put a lot of work and love into it. And we like to protect the integrity of it. Another reason, really, I'll be blunt, another reason why we're protective of our curriculum is that we know why we do what we do. And we do what we do because we are part of the cultural battle. We are part of this battle that's being fought today. Uh, it's a battle that starts within first, with our interior life, and dying to ourselves, and fighting it through our spiritual, sacramental, and prayer life, interior life. And then it's a battle that's fought outside when we try to lovingly infuse the world with the values of the gospel. It's a battle that's fought when we try to insert ourselves into the secular institutions of society, into the secular fabric of society, as to bring Christ into every space and allow him to be the one that reigns as he should, right? That's the battle that we're in, and that's why we are a little protective of our curriculum. But I will share a little bit with you about it. A lot of people are curious about just what the heck are we teaching at TLI? We're going to talk about that. So without further ado, well, no, actually, before I bring my speaker for the day, I had a video. I had a video that I wanted to play with you. So let me bring it up. Every day we have started our live stream with a short video, and today won't be the exception. I want to share this video with you. That is a video, just a clip from an interview that I did a few years back for.
Find out more
Oh, here we go.
about
Wait, I'm going to put it. This is Father Mitch Pacwa.
To find out more about this Tepeyac Leadership Initiative, you can go to tliprogram.org. And you've got an announcement that we just got the last few, well, 30 seconds, a minute or so.
Thank you, Father. Yeah, I couldn't waste this opportunity. We were going to wait for the beginning of the year, but having the honor of being here through the success we've had reaching lay Catholics who want to grow in leadership, we've decided for the next year to launch our first annual conference. On the first weekend of November 2023, it's going to be in Orange County, California. Okay. Details will be posted on our website next year, but it's the first annual conference, and we're going to title it, just like the documentary, The Hour of the Laity, a Lay Catholic Conference.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you for being here with us in Sweet Home, Alabama, to tell us about all of that. And hopefully this will be something that gets you involved too.
Anyway, if you can't tell, I am very proud of that experience. It was lovely to meet Father Mitch Pacwa. It wasn't. It was my first time, but it hasn't been the only time. I've been invited back at EWTN a few times, and it's always a pleasure to share with the community there about the work that we are doing. And that video, that clip that I showed you, is from December of 2022. When we announced for the first time publicly at EWTN Live with Father Mitch Pacwa the launching of our new annual conference. At that point, we had already graduated. I think we were at the 6th generation of the TLI program, and we announced the new conference. So we announced it in December, and 2024, we were off to work to prepare a top-notch experience. And then the conference took place on November of 2024, 23, and then 2024, we did it again. This will be year 3 of the conference, and for year 3, we have moved it from beautiful Christ Cathedral at the Diocese of Orange that we were blessed and are grateful to have been able to host it there, but we're moving it to the Basilica of Guadalupe in Mexico City, this November 6th to the 8th. We're super excited about that. So anyway, now that we've seen the video of the day, I'm going to bring in my friend and Tepeyac leader from the very first cohort of TLI, from the TLI 2018 cohort. His name is Rafael Testai. Now his last name has been Testai since he was born, but recently, recently because really the technology is recent, even if you're looking 10, 20 years ago, the technology is fairly recent. He sort of found his calling as an expert in this field, and it seems like it was providential because it was already in the last 2 letters of his last name, and I've seen you, Rafael, spell Testai with a capital AI at the end. Is that correct?
That's right, Chris. Thank you.
And it fits you so well, my friend. I know that you've been doing work with AI, primarily running your business. You created a platform that I definitely want you to share a little bit about what your platform does. But tell me about your own encounter with, you're going to tell us about a lot of things, but let's start with your own encounter with artificial intelligence, AI. How did it interest you? What is it that, has excited you about it? And where are you going with it?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me, Chris. And just to get an idea, how long do I have to answer the question so I know how to frame it?
Uh, just give me a good answer. That we don't, we're not that restrictive. Give me a good answer. It's fine, Rafael.
All right. And is this session right now interactive? Like people in the audience can comment or no?
If people on the live stream on LinkedIn have comments, uh, we'll be able to see them. It is live. People can comment, so we welcome any comment or question. But we don't have any comments yet. I'll let you know.
Okay, for sure. All right, everyone. So my name is Rafael Test AI. As Chris said, the AI in my last name capitalized. It was a recent change. And I came across AI like many people about 2 years ago with ChatGPT. That's how it started. And I needed to use AI for a domestic violence situation that I suffered. And I couldn't afford an attorney. So that's how I started. And I really fell in love with the technology. And I felt like that was my calling to help other people do the same.
And you created an app. You created an app. So for someone like you who at some point maybe didn't know much about AI and wanted to tap into the technology, did you find that you needed to get to become an expert on the back end of how things work, or you can simply be a very good user and be able to leverage the tools that AI offers?
Yeah, so the fabulous thing about AI is that you don't have to become a programmer. You can use natural language, plain English, to program it as long as you're very specific in what you want. But it does help to have a little bit of programming as a background because if you know how to think in a sequence, in an algorithm, and in a protocol, which is what programming is, it's like following a recipe. You're just telling the computer, do this. And if these conditions are met, do these things. But if not, do this. That's what programming is essentially. So if you can take a couple computer classes, maybe 3 months or so, you'll have a big advantage when other people are programming on plain English. But to answer Chris's question, you don't need to know Python or JavaScript or any programming language. If you're pretty good at English, you could get a head start.
Just for a little reference, Rafael, what is your own professional training? What did you go to school for?
Yeah, I went to school for molecular biology and genetics to Barrett, ASU, the Honors College. And after that, I sold a mobile application. I did that for 5 years. I was a non-technical founder. It was called Event Key. This is all on my LinkedIn profile. If you just copy my name, paste it on LinkedIn, you'll see it. And then after that, I became a mechanical engineer for 5 years. And then after that, I became a software developer for the last 2 years.
All right. So you definitely had a what I will call a scientific mind, and I'm sure that didn't hurt when you started getting involved with AI and using it for your new project, your new idea, your app. By the way, what is your app called?
Yeah, it's called Statute Finder. And I don't know
Okay.
if I can share my screen, but statute has three T's, as in Tom, statute,
Okay.
finder, and it's statutefinder.org. It's the number one domestic violence app in the world right now, top of the App Store. In just 3 months, we climbed all the way to the top. Here's the logo. It's orange.
Start to find it, and I'm sure that the people for whom this is relevant, they're gonna go find it. They're gonna look for it, and I know it's relevant to a lot of people. I know that it was a very difficult, complicated situation that moved you forward, and brought the idea to you. But this is how God works. Sometimes we have to go through these really difficult, tough times, and for us to find our mission, whether this is our life mission or maybe a temporary project that God is putting in front of us. But it seems to me that that's precisely what's happened to you. I'm proud of you. By the way, Rafael, you are one of our Tepeyac leaders. You graduated from the first cohort. Earlier in the week, we had one of your peers, Roxana Amaton, who's also from the 2018 cohort. Let me tell you, all the cohorts of TLI are wonderful. I love them all. I see you guys as my children, even though we are maybe close of age. But because you come into this program that we have poured our love into, hopefully has given you something to take away. I want to now take you back to your experience with TLI, and it was several years ago because you were part of the first generation. But did it do anything to you in your professional and spiritual life? Is there a before or after TLI? Could you speak about that?
Yeah, 100%. So I'm from the 2018 cohort, 7 years ago, the first cohort. It was all done in person in Phoenix. And yeah, let me see. There is a before and after, because what I learned from TLI, there's a couple main points. If I were to distill it into, you are important enough to make a difference. That's what it comes down to. Everyday lay Catholics like you and I watching this, we can make a difference. There's a little bit of David in us with the slingshot. We can take down that giant, and to not think that we have to let somebody else make the big difference. It's inside of us, every one of us watching this live stream. Okay, so the other thing is to not play small in the workplace and to not compromise your Catholic values in the workplace, no matter what. And that is a distinction before and after TLI. I'd say to look for places where I can work that would honor our faith and wouldn't force us to turn away from our faith. Because when that happens, when we're not congruent with who we are inside and what we do every day at work, and when we can't be Catholics at work, then it's just not a good environment. I don't think that's healthy. So I think true inclusivity is accepting Catholics and Christians in the workplace. And yeah, that's true inclusivity, true equality. Yes.
I loved everything you have just said, Rafael. I never thought of that image, but I'm going to use it with your permission, David. There's a little David in all of us. Uh, we use the image of Juan Diego, which I think is a similar one, because, well, I don't know if David, no, actually, from what I recall, David was pretty courageous from the beginning, but Juan Diego, he didn't feel quite up to the challenge, up to the mission. He was he was a little hesitant, very yeah, didn't necessarily felt that he could do that. He was the right person for it. That's what he told Our Lady. And that's why we use that image in the program, Juan Diego as the image of the lay leader. You certainly have accomplished much. I am very proud of you and your peers, Rafael. I think that you're leading the way in your niche. And I think that is the beautiful thing about our calling as leaders, that we don't need to do it all, right? And ultimately, the one that does everything is God. We're just his tools, and we can let him use us when we are docile and open to what he's putting in front of us. But what's your take on that, on the fact that each of us has a calling, a concrete purpose and mission that God has prepared for us?
I actually want to touch up on a video that you shared, Chris, not too long ago, one of your selfie videos. If you follow Chris, you'll see what I'm talking about, his LinkedIn feed and Instagram, where you discuss, Chris, that finding your calling in life is actually not that difficult. It could be right in front of you. And the way that I see that is, in my life, God has shown me what are some problems, some things that I would consider absolutely unacceptable. And I see that no one's taking action on that. So I see maybe it is my calling to fix that problem. And I'm doing it. I noticed that domestic violence survivors, they don't know their statutory rights. These are the rights, the laws, and they're called statutes. It's not as complex as we may think. Everyday people like you and I can know this. But these statute codes are based on jurisdiction, where you live. And if you know these statute codes, you can categorize the abuse that you've been through, and then you can engage police, law enforcement, detectives, and judges and articulate yourself in a way that they can understand and move your case forward in your defense. And it's just overlooked completely in the domestic violence sector. Everything's very emotional. Is he or she a narcissist? Did they cheat on me? These are not laws. The police doesn't care about that. So if you approach police with that mindset, they're gonna brush you aside. But if you approach with the codes, they're gonna listen to you and you may have your rights upheld like they should. So God showed me that injustice and I'm doing something about it, and thousands of lives have been changed because of this. So I know without a shred of doubt that this is the TLI calling that I was waiting for.
This is your mission. This is the mission the Lord has given you. And I love it, Rafael, because you give us a very concrete example. And the beauty about this is that the opportunities, the arenas, the avenues, the spaces are endless. There's no end to where the Lord can act, and maybe he can act through us if we allow ourselves to be used by him. And if we discern it, we can find the mission, the concrete, individual, unique mission that he has for us. And that's what I see in you, Rafael. I want to go back a little bit to AI, because the Pope the Pope has Pope Leo 14 has, you know, in a very at least it has called my attention in a way that not even Pope Francis, I actually don't recall. I'm sure he has because his pontificate lasted for several years. I'm sure he has talked about AI, but I don't really remember what he ever said about it. However, Pope Leo from the beginning, he brought up this topic. I don't know if you have read anything that the Pope has said about, but what is your take on the Pope's concerns on AI, on what he's saying or what he said so far?
So let's make sure that we're on the same page. And I agree with you, Chris, that the new Pope has talked about AI from the very beginning. Can we pull a quote, maybe that he said, and can we all look at it at the same time so we're referencing the same thing?
Yeah, I have one in front of me actually.
Let's do that.
AI, he's talking about AI. He says, will certainly be of great help to society, provided that its employment does not undermine the identity and dignity of the human person and his or her fundamental freedoms. Now, why? I'm gonna read the second part. Then he goes on. It must not be forgotten that artificial intelligence functions as a tool for the good of human beings, not to diminish them, not to replace them. Now, why I feel that you know AI much better than I do. Why would the Pope be concerned about this? I imagine that like any technology, it can be good to put to good use or to bad use, because that happened with the internet, with social media, with everything has happened that has been that way. What do you think about AI? Is there an ethical aspect to it? Is there a moral aspect to it?
Certainly, I think that AI can be weaponized, just like a fork at the dinner table is meant to be for eating, but then one can weaponize it in jail to injure someone else, poke them in the eye with it. The same thing can be with AI. You can weaponize it, you can corrupt it, and you can use it for bad things. Just recently, I saw an article about AI has gotten so good at making images that one could literally fake receipts of expenses and then deceive the IRS into thinking that one had expenses when one didn't, like a restaurant receipt, things like that. That's just one example of the many corrupt things that one can do. So we have to be very careful, and that's why if somebody asks me who is Rafael Test AI, one of the first things I would say is I'm a Christian, I'm a Catholic, and that's the lens through which I see the world, and which I also learned in TLI. I'm so grateful for the course that I took, the program, because it helped me see the world in that view. So whenever I program AI, I make sure to have good values and principles.
Excellent, Rafael. I love everything that you're doing. That's precisely how we want our Tepeyac leaders to approach their space, wherever they are. And we are blessed to have Tepeyac leaders in education, in finance, in healthcare. I think we've probably had Tepeyac leaders from every arena at this point. We haven't had an astronaut yet, but most arenas, I think we had. What is next for you, Rafael? But I want you to tell me, just in closing, with this I'll let you go, but spend a little time on each category. What would you say is next for you in your professional life, in your plans for your project, your big project, this app that I know is just the beginning because you're really trying to grow it and make it more known and accessible and perfected. And also something that matters to us, your spiritual life, your interior life. Is there anything in particular that you are trying to work on, or maybe go a little deep on your own interior growth? And I touch on professional development and spiritual growth because that's where TLI lives. That's where our organization, our leadership program, the conference, that's where we are at the intersection of professional development and spiritual growth. So what's next for you? Have you thought about this? Have you discerned this?
Certainly. So we have gotten Statue Finder to the point that there's such demand for it that we're waiting for the 501c3 nonprofit status to arrive. But in the meantime, I want to start recruiting a co-founder that will be the non-technical co-founder that could be the people facing, the one that does the interviews and does the relationships, manages the CRM, and I can be basically like in the basement, programming and coding. That would be a dream scenario. So if anybody's listening that you would like to be that person that saves others and does the customer facing as like a non-technical co-founder, please reach out to me, even just to start a conversation. We're gonna do it in the beginning, just a little bit of volunteering to get started. Then we're gonna get some big grants that we've applied for, and then we'll be able to distribute the salaries and get everyone paid accordingly. So that's on the statue finder front. But I have a big vision that God has given me. We are going to be the first domestic violence legal resources clinic that you can call and AI can answer the phone. And this is not going to be the typical robotic press one for this, press two. It's going to talk just like I'm talking now, like you and I, Chris. It's going to have empathy and it's not going to have that delay. It's going to be awesome. I'm working on it now behind the scenes. Let me see what else. There's one thing else I'd like to touch upon, which is it's not to answer your question, but I think this is really cool for people to listen to this. What it feels like when when you're doing God's work. I want to talk about that if that's okay.
Absolutely.
So when you accept, I don't want to cry when I talk about this. When you
It's
accept
perfectly
God's
okay.
calling,
That's why you're not AI.
yeah, when you accept God's calling, it's like you have when you accept it because it may not be the thing that you wanted to do, but it's the thing that has been assigned to you, and one has to humbly accept the responsibility because one may have been preparing their whole life to this moment, and you have all the skills you needed, and then you just didn't know, and then God allows you to see that there's this problem in the world that needs to be solved, and you see it and you care about it more than anybody else. So it feels like you have the wind in your favor. It feels like every door just opens for you. It feels like there's nothing that you don't understand. That's how I feel right now. Whenever I study AI, there's no topic in AI that I just don't understand. I literally sit down in front of the computer and I can't believe that I understand everything that I come across. And I know it's not me anymore because I wasn't like this in school or before. But it's incredible. I tell my friends and my mom, everything that I want to understand, I get it, and I deploy it, and it works. And I know it's not me anymore. I just put my hands up like it's him working through me, and he wants to save the people I needed the most with this technology. So thank you very much for allowing me to here review on this platform, Chris. And if anybody wants to keep in touch with me, my name is here below. Just copy and paste it on LinkedIn, and send me a message, and we can take it from there.
Thank you, Rafael. You definitely answer all my questions with that. Again, I'm very proud of everything you've done, my friend. I wish you the best. We continue to be in contact. You know that TLI doesn't let its children go too far, and we're always grabbing you for this and that, and using your talents so that we can continue to grow the apostolate. I look forward to seeing you in Mexico City. You're going to be there with us. So keep up the good work and keep up the praise for us. We're praying for you too. Thank you so much, Rafael.
Muchas gracias, Chris. Chao.
Yes, gracias. And friends, yeah, that is one of our Tepeyac leaders. I hope you get a chance and opportunity to meet many more, many more. This year we reached the 400 mark. 400 people have graduated from the TLI program, and each of them graduated with something very special. Here in the TLI family, we call it the leadership commitment. The leadership commitment is the result of the TLI experience, the result of the discernment of these 5 months, 18 weeks, 18 3-hour weekly sessions that take place from the second week of February to the third week of June. The result of this experience and everything else that it entails, that I'm about to get into detail with that. The result is that every graduate comes into graduation that for 2025 will be Saturday morning in the United States, 7 p.m. in Rome, because we'll have people from all over the world join in. And each graduate reads his or her own unique individual leadership commitment. The leadership commitment at Tepeyac Leadership is a 100 words or less statement. It is a statement. It is a promise. It is an offering. I was talking a few days ago about the common priesthood and how we, through our common priesthood, can and should offer everything up to God. So the leadership commitment is another offering that we do. Those who have experienced the TLI program conclude the journey, conclude this discernment process, and after this 5-month, 18-week dialogue, conversation with God, they say, this is what I'm going to do now as a lay Catholic leader in civil society. I'm going to show you some of those leadership commitments. in just a minute. But first, what I want to do is I want to tell you about the TLI experience. So far this week, I think I have shared with you about what the story of the TLI program is. But I'm gonna tell you now just what it feels like going through the program, what exactly takes place in the program. If you visit our website, tliprogram.org, and here we are, you'll find a lot of information here, right? Under Learn, you'll be able to check out this frequent asked questions section that will tell you a lot about the program, but I'm going to cover some of these things. You can read on some of the leadership commitments from previous years. Here we have them listed from 2018 all through 2023. What happened there is that in 2024, we began listing the leadership commitments on our other website, our online magazine, The Catholic Professional. That's where you'll find the list of leadership commitments from 2024 onwards, this year's too. But here you can read, and we're going to get into that as well. You'll learn about our San Juan Diego Leadership for the World Award, the book that we published that is the manifesto for this movement, really the foundation for what we're doing. Those interested in mentoring for the program can learn about that, our conference, our publication, and different opportunities that there are with us. You can apply from the website itself. And even though we're not taking applications yet, actually, I think that in this photo, that was Rafael Testay, first generation, 2018. You can apply right here. You click under Got It. I want to fill an application, and you apply. Even though we won't be taking applications until October 1st. Oh, yeah, the application is not available yet, but it really is a simple application. You apply online. It's like any other application. You enter your contact information, and you are going to let us know a little bit about who you are. There are, I think, 3 or maybe 5 max essay questions. So we really care about how you think and what you believe. And so you submit the application along with your resume or curriculum vitae and a letter of recommendation. The letter of recommendation can come from anybody. It doesn't even have to be a Catholic. It could be a priest, could be a friend. What we're trying to find is somebody's testimonial or experience with you that can tell us that you are a person of integrity, that can tell us about who you are. And so we do this, and I just want to make sure that we're still on. And let me see. Yes, we're on. Always checking on the technology, friends, because I am not an expert on technology, but I'm running this live stream, not only hosting it, running it too through the dashboard. So you apply, you submit your application. After you submit it, you also need a letter of recommendation. I said that. You go through an admissions interview. This is a nothing to fear here, a very friendly 20 or 25-minute interview by Zoom that we always schedule in January. So people apply, the window to apply is October 1st to November 10th. Then you schedule your interview. The interviews take place throughout the month of January. And then is on the last week of January that we announce the people that were admitted into the program. We publish the list on the Catholic Professional, our online magazine. And so you hear and you know that you have been admitted into the program. And then from then on forward, we send you all the information to get started. The program begins the second week of February and then runs one night a week for 5 months. There's a break for Holy Week. These are weekly 3-hour sessions, and people get to choose which night of the week works best for them. So far, we've given them a choice of 3 nights. We have the TLI LA track that meets Tuesdays from 7 to 10 p.m. Pacific. The TLI New York track meets Thursdays from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern. And these are just the names of the groups. It doesn't mean that it's only for people in LA or in New York, just so people remember the time zone that each of these groups are meeting on. The TLI Rome track meets on Wednesdays from 7 to 10 p.m. Rome time. And that's the one that's most popular with the people on the other side of the Atlantic, not just Europeans, but people in Africa or Asia, Middle East, Lebanon, for example, tend to sign up for the TLI Rome track so that they don't have to wake up in the middle of the night to join any of the other two groups. That's the one that we design and we put at that time so that it works for them. So this is the beauty of the flexibility built into the TLI program. You apply and you choose which of the three groups, which of the three tracks, which of the three nights and time zones work best for you. And that's your group. And you're going to join most weeks on that night, on that day of the week. However, in any given week, if you know that you're going to have a hard time joining the regular session on the regular night because something happened, life happened, you can just let us know, hey, TLI team, this week I'm going to be joining the Tuesday group instead of Wednesday, or the Thursday group because there's something at work, I'm staying up late, I'm traveling, whatever the case might be. So you can jump around a little bit when needed. We have that flexibility to build into the program. There is no homework at TLI. There's nothing to do outside of the sessions. We do give you a reading handout, some material for you to review ahead of each session, but that's hardly homework. You're not quizzed on it or anything like that. That's just for you to get your mindset ready for the session. And we open every session with a discussion on the reading handout, just to see what you thought of it. And people volunteer their comments or opinions or whatever thoughts or impressions they had from the reading assigned for each week prior to each session. That's how we began the session. So I'm going to give you a feeling of the format, right? So each of our sessions takes 3 hours. We begin quickly. The facilitator starts, welcomes everybody, goes through, first starts with prayer, welcomes everybody, quick announcements, and jumps into the discussion and leads the discussion. Mark, Mary, John, George, whatever, starts calling on the names, and we have a rich interaction, discussion based on the reading that was assigned. That takes about 15, 20 minutes. Then we jump into the speakers of the day. Typically, there's 3 or 2 speakers for each session. And so we bring in the first speaker, the facilitator introduces him or her, and he goes through a PowerPoint presentation, 20-minute max. Then we go into the next one, and then the next one, back to back. No interruptions, no questions. After the 3 speakers or 2 speakers of the day, then the facilitator opens it up for questions in the format of a Q&A panel, where now all 3 panelists or experts or presenters of the day begin to interact with the participants of the program. That takes about another 30, or, if it's really engaging, might go up to 45 minutes discussion. And this is where people get to ask everything that they ever pondered about the topic of the day. We're going to get into the topics too. So after the Q&A, the facilitator will thank and dismiss the experts, the panelists of the day, and he will take the participants of the program through a dynamic or interaction so that they can better digest the ideas that they have been hearing and talking about and reading about, right? So how do we do this? We break the group into breakout groups. We can do that through Zoom. I don't know if other platforms can do that now, but early on, Zoom was the only one. That's why we adopted Zoom. And so if it's a group typically of about 30 people, the facilitator will break the group into breakout rooms of about 4 or 5 people, no more, sometimes as small as 3, so that they can now discuss. He gives them a challenge, some idea, some topic, some problem to find a solution, just to think about. And each group begins discussing that. After giving them maybe 20 minutes, he brings them back, and then a representative from each group begins to say what they were discussing or what their ideas were in regards to how to respond to the challenge that was presented. And that pretty much is getting us towards the end of the 3-hour session. Towards the end, we always end with repeating the announcements and my favorite part of the sessions, an examination of conscience. But friends, if you haven't been through the TLI program, you have no idea what these examinations of conscience are like, because they're very much tailored to the life of a Catholic professional or a leader, and the participants love the examinations, we don't give them handouts with these examinations to read, because at that point the facilitator would ask everybody to put everything away, just make an act of presence of God, and just listen as the facilitator reads the questions from the examination of conscience. Then they do at the end, slowly he reads them. At the end, he asks for a volunteer to lead everybody into an act of contrition. And that pretty much gets them to the end of the session. They end with prayer and dismiss the session. That's what a session in the TLI program looks like. That's the format, and it's beautiful, friends. In addition to the sessions, every week, every participant is meeting with at least one of his peers in what we call a Zoom coffee. Zoom coffee. You know, these are one of the favorite aspects of the program for many of the participants. It is a requirement to graduate from TLI. Everybody going through the program needs to have at least one Zoom coffee per week throughout the program, so that by the end of the program, 18 sessions, each participant would have connected on a one-on-one basis with at least 18 of their peers. And this is how we can successfully create community. And by the time we get to the retreat, which is in person, these are already friends. This is a community. People are looking forward to finally meeting each other in person, right? Hugging each other and spending time together at the retreat. This is what the TLI experience is like. In addition to that, each participant is assigned a mentor, someone who accompanies the person throughout the journey. The mentors, I mentioned it earlier this week, the mentors commit to being in touch with the participant twice a month for 20 or 25-minute calls that can be by phone, by Zoom, or in person if they happen to be in the same city, which sometimes is the case. And so always pairing them up, men with men and ladies with ladies. These become beautiful friendships, sort of big brother, big sister type of relationship with their mentors. And the participants of the program really value the insights, the wisdom, the direction, the guidance that they receive from their mentors. And the mentors enjoy the process as well. So begin to picture yourself going through these weekly sessions. Every week I have a session, 3 hours, very profound formation experience, interactive, dynamic experience. In addition to that, I'm meeting one new person around the world, around the country, or maybe in my city next door, so that I can connect with my peers who are in the program. About every other week, I'm meeting with my mentor who is checking on me. How is everything professionally, spiritually? And you're going through 5 months, 18 weeks of this. This is the TLI experience. And we get to the retreat, the Tepeyac Leadership Retreat. Has typically been in Phoenix. We've taken it to a few other cities. It has been in Nashville. We've offered it last year in Phoenix and Holland, the Netherlands, Amsterdam. I'm sorry, it was in Amsterdam, so that participants in the other side of the Atlantic could travel most easily there. And we held it simultaneously in those two locations, Phoenix and Amsterdam. However, this year, as you know, we did the retreat for the very first time at the Basilica of Guadalupe. It was incredible. While the other group was doing it in Fatima, it was also incredible, but a smaller group met there. Imagine going through this 5-month experience, which is really, really a thrill. It is a transformative experience. It is a catalyst experience. And then finally meeting your cohort at the retreat, many of the people that you're interacting with at the retreat. All of that is the TLI experience. I still haven't told you about what we talk about in the sessions, what we touch on. I'll first finish up with the retreat. During the retreat, it's not so much, it's very different. The dynamics and the topics are very different from the regular sessions. At the retreat, it's all introspect. It's all about going deep into who we are, identifying God's blueprint for ourselves. Just how did God create me? How did He create me? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are the virtues that come more natural to me and the ones that I need to work a little harder on so that we can become virtuous leaders, right? So that's what the program does essentially during the retreat. What do we do during the sessions? Each session focuses on one area of human activity or secular life. And we bring in front of the participants every week 3 or 2 experts, really top-notch, seasoned professionals, committed, faithful Catholics who have the battle scars and have been there or are in the trenches. And so they come and talk about concrete, real-world lay Catholic leadership for civil society. See, at TLI, we try not to be a program that stays up here in the clouds with theology, philosophy, and catechesis. This is all good stuff. We all need it. But this program tries to bring down those to the practical level, to the application level, to the roll up your sleeves and get something done level. And we do that by modeling and bringing the examples of the leaders that we put in front of the participants every week. So we have a session, for example, on education. We have a session on healthcare. We have a session on news media, philanthropy, business, government, board service, Catholic social doctrine, human dignity. We have a session on religious liberty. We have a session on, there's a point towards the end of the program when we split the class, which is mixed, men and women, and we almost always get 50-50, just about. We split the group into 2, where for the prior to the last session, session 17, the men do a session titled Into the Breach, which goes into what it means to be a Christian man. And the ladies do a session, do the opposite basically, and go into a session that's just ladies. All the panelists and experts are ladies. The facilitator is a lady, just with the men, just like with the men, everybody's a man. And the ladies go into a session titled The Feminine Genius, where they go into what it means to be a woman, a Christian woman, right? So this is almost getting us to the last session. The last session, by the time people go into the last session, they typically have done the retreat because it's timed that way. So they do the retreat typically on the last weekend of May, and it's a few more sessions in June before ending the program. And the last session is titled Holiness in Ordinary Life. And this is where we bring it all together, right? This is where we talk about and really land the plane, and we tell everybody how everything we're doing, everything we're building, everything we're growing up to be or to become ultimately leads us to who we are. I mentioned this earlier. Yesterday, I talked about this. A few days ago, I talked about it again. Who we are and why we're here. What is our identity and what is our purpose? Why we're here and who are we? Why were we made? Why did God create us, right? And what is the purpose of our life? That is what this is about, friends. That is what we're doing here. That is what we're doing here today. We're talking about who we are and why we're here. We are, all of us, the baptized, are children of God. That's who we are at our core, our essence. That's where our identity needs to be grounded and founded. And all of the other aspects can be important aspects of who we are, right? I am proud of being Peruvian American. I'm proud about that bicultural experience. I am proud of so many other things, right? Maybe my favorite sports team, my political party. All those things are important. They are. But they build on that most important thing, which I am, a son, a child of God. And from there, if I have the proper understanding of who I am, I should really understand the purpose of my life. Because all of us, all of the children of God, were made for holiness, were made for heaven. So ultimately, the mission of TLI, of forming lay Catholic leaders for civil society, the mission of TLI of preparing Catholic professionals to sanctify themselves while sanctifying the world around them, while infusing the world with the values of the gospel, while Christianizing the world, right? Strategically, intentionally, prayerfully. The mission of TLI ultimately is to invest in saints. Now, clearly, this is going to happen through God's grace, and that's what does it. That's what sanctifies us. But it requires our opening. It requires our openness. It requires our disposition. It requires our ability to say, here I am, Lord, use me. Use me. I want to be a good and faithful servant. I want those to be the words that you greet me with. When I enter that door, when I open the door into the next life, I want those words to sound. Welcome, good and faithful servant. That is the mission of TLI, to build up this world army. Some people don't like when I use military analogies, but it is a spiritual army. It is a spiritual army. It is a spiritual army that seeks to build a Christian civilization for the 21st century. That is the mission of TLI. And if we have been doing these live streams from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, here we are Thursday. Tomorrow we're going to close with some important information that I want to share with you tomorrow, some reports about what we have accomplished over the past 8 years. I'm going to share that with you tomorrow. But if we're doing this, we're putting this effort forward, is because we want to invite you to be part of this exciting mission. It is because we believe that if you're listening, if you have gotten this far, maybe God is calling you to be part of the TLI family in whatever capacity you can be. We need participants of the program who will become Tepeyac leaders and then go out into the world to fulfill their leadership commitment. We need mentors, we need speakers, we need volunteers, and we certainly need financial supporters. That's an important aspect of what we're doing here this week. Rise Up and Lead, a Catholic call to action, is an invitation for you to invest in the next generation of lay Catholic leaders for America and for the world, for civil society globally, in every continent. We have already planted the seeds. We have a TLI family in Europe, the Middle East, Asia, Africa, Latin America, Canada, United States, all over the country. The Southwest is where our network is the largest in the United States, but it's definitely present in every continent. In September, I'm going to be in New York. I'm going to be speaking in front of 2 groups, spreading the mission of TLI, and so on. Every opportunity that we can, we continue to spread the mission. But we can't do what we do. We can't put together a conference in Mexico City. We can't continue to travel and make presentations and deliver this message and this mission without the support of our donors. And so the invitation to you is a double invitation. It's a double consideration. You can take one or you can take both of the invitations. So the first one is to consider if God has blessed you in such a way that you are able today to write a major gift to our organization, to our Catholic Apostolate, to our nonprofit organization, Catholic Apostolate, Global Catholic Apostolate, with canonical status of private juridic person as given by the Diocese of Phoenix, where we're headquartered and where we were born. If you want to support our organization in that way with a major gift of $2,000, of $5,000, of $10,000, I think in the history of TLI, in the young history of TLI, I think the largest gift we've received is $50,000. That was a while ago. It's been a while. The money has been, the funds have been put to good use. And so if you want to break that record, we are not going to mind it. We're going to be very grateful, and we can promise you that we're going to put those funds to good use, to move forward with confidence, advancing the mission, investing more in lay Catholic leadership for civil society. But if not, if you're not in the capacity, if you don't have the position, the ability, if you're just simply not able to write a major gift to TLI through clicking on the link that you see right above the live stream, I invite you to become a monthly financial supporter, because that is also very helpful to us. You don't need to break the bank if that's what it would entail for you to write a major gift. You can commit to something that you can do monthly for this apostolate, for this vision, for the mission of Tepeyac Leadership. And what could that be? Well, think about maybe it helps to think about something that you could give up, right? Because I know that today a cup of coffee, it's perhaps $10, depending on the size and what you put in it and where you buy it, right? Can we give that up? Can we give one a month so that we can invest in TLI? Or perhaps it's a membership. A membership, maybe I wanted to go to the gym, but I signed up and I'm actually not going, and I don't plan on going because maybe I started running, and that's how I'm going to take care of my fitness. Can I then go ahead and cancel that subscription that I needed to cancel and use those funds to invest in TLI, right? Or one of these multiple online services that sometimes we sign up to for and never actually use. Think of it this way. How can you make it work? How can you make it happen? What can you give up so that you can invest in this apostolate that we're bringing in front of you, that we are asking you to be the instrument of God so that He can bless it further? What can you do? How can you make it possible for you to become a monthly financial supporter in our apostolate? Maybe you haven't done it. You haven't become a monthly financial supporter because you have thought that perhaps you needed to have a large, very large capacity in order to do that. Maybe you don't know, if I'm not going to be able to donate $100 a month, $200 a month, why even bother? Well, let me tell you right now that we disagree with you. Every dollar helps. And, we are very grateful to those people who can write a major gift. And we're very grateful to those people who can become monthly financial supporters at a large level. We have, for example, I can think of a friend that gives us $400 a month. That's what he's committed to. $400 a month he invests in our apostolate. So we are grateful when that happens, but we feel that we could probably get farther and much sooner if we can get all of our friends, every single one of our friends, every single member of the TLI family, every single person that prays for us, every single person that cares about this mission, that wants to see it grow and succeed. If every one of you would invest just the little part that you can invest, $20 a month or $10 a month, $30 a month, $50 a month, or $5 a month, whatever it may be, at the level that God allows you to commit to us, if we can get all of our friends to do that, we'd be moving faster and farther than we could ever imagine. If we could just do that, if we could get you to do that. So with that, we're going to wrap up this live stream, and we have an appointment tomorrow. Again, 3 p.m. Pacific, right here on LinkedIn for the last episode, the last in this live stream series that we have started this week. Rise Up and Lead, a Catholic call to action, it was envisioned as an opportunity to create awareness for the need for lay Catholic leadership in the world. It was envisioned as an opportunity to share with others about the work that our apostolate is doing globally from Phoenix, Arizona, from the United States of America. It was envisioned as an opportunity to remind people who care about our apostolate that we depend on their generosity and we depend on their financial support, and that without it, of course, God is the one that gets things done, but He does that through us. And if we close our ears to His prompting and to His calling, to His invitation, then He cannot act on us. And we can't see the fruit that He's hoping that would take place through us. So the invitation is for you to tonight, say a prayer and ask yourself, how much could you invest in Tepeyac Leadership? With how much, with what amount, at what level could I commit and become a monthly financial supporter for Tepeyac Leadership? Pray about that, click on that link, walk this journey with us, join this adventure in Christ, join the TLI family. You already are part of the TLI family. Invest, integrate yourself into this community, and help us move the mission forward. That's the invitation. I am so grateful for your attention, for being with us. Those of you who have been here every single day of the live stream, those who will see the repeated video on social media or on YouTube, thank you for taking the time to do that. And I will be praying that I will hear from you, that we will see your name come in. We will get an email saying that Jonathan, Mary, Monica, whatever your names are, who are watching this, decided to step forward and invest in the next generation of lay Catholic leaders for civil society. Together, we can continue transforming lives, building up the community and the church by investing in tomorrow's lay Catholic leaders for the world. Until tomorrow, have a blessed day. Thank you very much.